Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
If you're a Blue Jays fan right now, you're probably feeling two things at once. Excitement about all the pitching talent the team has added, and impatience about how long the Kyle Tucker situation is taking to resolve. You're not alone. Every day that passes without news feels like an eternity when you're waiting for the move that could define the entire offseason. But here's the thing, we finally got some updates from insiders that might give us a clearer picture of when this could all come together. John Morosi and Shi Davidi both came out this week with information about what Kyle Tucker and his camp are doing right now and what the Blue Jays are planning as they try to close this deal. Tucker has been meeting with other interested teams this week, which was always going to happen. We knew from the start that Toronto met with him first down in the Dominican Republic a few weeks ago, and that meeting generated tons of buzz because the Blue Jays were already being linked as favorites. But this is standard procedure. Tucker was always going to take meetings with other organizations to see what the market looks like and what kind of offers are out there. Morosi mentioned on MLB Network that the Blue Jays will be involved until the very end of this process, which makes sense given they have the financial flexibility to outbid almost anyone. He also said he expects a clearer picture to emerge within the next 48 to 72 hours about who the real contenders are. That timeline puts us right around now, meaning we could be getting significant updates any moment about where things stand and which teams are still seriously in the mix. What's interesting is that Morosi doesn't expect the Blue Jays to land both Tucker and BOMBSHELL, which is a separate conversation, but it tells you something about how the front office is prioritizing their resources. They're going all in on Tucker, and if they get him, that probably closes the door on bringing Bo back unless they can work out a deal that makes financial sense on both sides. But the focus right now is clearly on securing the big outfield bat that transforms this lineup. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, and this is something that's been floating around from multiple sources. There are reports that other teams aren't coming close to the money Tucker is asking for. He reportedly wants something in the neighborhood of $400 million over 10 years, which would be a $40 million annual average value. That's superstar money, and apparently not many organizations are willing to go there, whether it's concerns about injury history or just the way teams are evaluating his market value. The offers aren't matching his expectations. This actually puts the Blue Jays in a fascinating position. If no one else is offering $400 million, Toronto doesn't necessarily have to either. They could wait, let Tucker's camp realize that the market isn't as hot as they hoped, and then come in with an offer in the $325 to $350 million range that still blows everyone else out of the water. It's a calculated risk because you don't want to wait too long and let another team like the Dodgers swoop in with a short-term, high annual value deal that could appeal to Tucker for different reasons. The Dodgers angle is real, and it's something Toronto has to be mindful of. If Los Angeles comes in and offers a 1 or 2 year deal at $50 or $60 million per year, that could be attractive to Tucker because it gives him a massive payday in the short term and then allows him to hit free agency again while he's still in his prime. That's a different strategy than locking in long-term security, but for some players it makes sense. The Blue Jays have to be ready to counter that if it happens, and they probably will by offering that long-term deal that provides financial security for the next decade. Right now, it feels like a bit of cat and mouse. Tucker is gathering information from all these meetings, weighing his options, and trying to figure out what makes the most sense for his career and his bank account. The Blue Jays are being patient, letting the market develop, but they're positioned to make the decisive move when the time is right. They have the money, they have the need, and they're one of the few teams that can offer both the contract size and the competitive window that makes signing with them attractive. So when does this actually get resolved? My prediction is that it happens after Christmas, but before the new year. Tucker needs time to process all the information from this week's meetings, talk things over with his agent and his family, and make a decision that he's comfortable with. These big free agent deals often take time, especially when the market isn't developing exactly the way the player expected. Guys like Bryce Harper and Manny Machado famously didn't sign until well into the new year because their markets were complicated and took time to sort out. But this situation feels a little different because Tucker does have a clear top bidder in Toronto. It's not like he's choosing between 5 equal offers. The Blue Jays can outspend almost anyone if they decide to, so It really comes down to whether Tucker wants the long-term security or if he's intrigued by a short-term high-value deal that gets him back to free agency sooner. That decision probably gets made in the next week or two, and once it does, things could move quickly. If the Blue Jays do land Tucker, and I think they will, their offseason is essentially complete. Look at the roster right now. The starting pitching is stacked with Dylan Cease, Kevin Gausman, Shane Bieber, Jose Barrios, and Trey Savage. The bullpen has pieces like Jeff Hoffman, Jordan Romano if he's healthy, and enough depth to get through a season. The lineup would have Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Kyle Tucker, George Springer, Dalton Varsho, and a solid supporting cast. That's a championship caliber roster. The only question marks left would be whether they pursue Bo Bichette if his market comes down, which seems unlikely unless he's willing to take a team-friendly deal, and whether they want to add another high-leverage reliever to pair with Hoffman at the back end of games. But those are luxury moves, not necessities. If they get Tucker, they've addressed the biggest need, and everything else is just fine-tuning. This is the kind of offseason that changes the trajectory of a franchise. Adding elite talent at the right time, being aggressive when the opportunity is there, and building a roster that can compete for championships. The Blue Jays have done everything right so far. They've added pitching, they've maintained flexibility, and they've positioned themselves as the favorite to land the best position player available on the market. Now it's just about closing the deal and making it official. The next few days are going to be critical. Tucker is gathering information, teams are making their final pitches, and decisions are being made behind the scenes. For Blue Jays fans, it's agonizing to wait, but the payoff is going to be worth it. When Tucker puts on that Toronto uniform, when he's standing in the outfield at the Rogers Center, when he's hitting in the middle of that lineup next to Vlad, all of this waiting will feel like nothing. The offseason will be complete, the roster will be set, and the focus will shift to spring training and getting ready for what could be a truly special season. Stay patient, stay hopeful, and trust that the front office knows what they're doing. This is the closest Toronto has been to landing a superstar in years, and everything points to them getting it done. The Kyle Tucker era in Toronto is coming, and when it does, it's going to be worth every second of this wait.